Welcome all. Welcome again to another edition of Real Talk TV here on AOC Community Media. Yeah, Cox 15 and LUS Channel 3 in Lafayette, Louisiana. Welcome to this edition. So much to talk about in the community. I don't have no guests today, but hopefully we'll have some guests next week. The next time we do the show, and every 2 weeks. We do this show every 2 weeks on AOC Community Media, live on Cox and LUS, also on social media and YouTube. But I want to get into some things concerning the past election. Still a lot of fallout from the election. And the number to reach me if you want to talk live, because we're live in our own Real Talk and Digital Soul studios. And we could talk frankly in our studio, even though we're on Cox Cable and LUS. We don't know how long that's going to be with the new administration and the appointment of the new FCC commissioner. We don't know how things are going to change. But the thing that's going on right now, companies like Walmart and other companies that black folks, black people, African Americans, however you want to call them, who we patronize, have decided to roll back some of the some of the things concerning DEI. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? We've been saying that word, this acronym for a long time, right? And the whole thing is this: people seem, the Republicans did, and conservatives mindset did a great job on changing the narrative. They actually are using reverse discrimination as the pretext to why they're doing this. And the problem I have is not so much with what we know they're going to do. I have problems with our so-called leadership, whether they're elected on the state and local and national level, pushing back on that. As we know, the Democrats and progressive suffered a great debacle in the election of Trump, right? And the thing is, we could say, sit back and let all this happen. But you know what? When it trickles down, the trickle-down effect of what's going to happen if they start cutting Medicare and Medicaid, because you know, as the head of Medicare and Medicaid, they got Dr. Oz, the Wizard of Oz. And in other positions, Bobby Kennedy, who I used to listen to on a couple of other talk shows, who basically has some wild ideas about how the health care situation is going to be structured. And we have the choices of Donald Trump, Kash Patel as the head of the FBI, which I say the FBI, in a sense, the history of the FBI, well, maybe they deserve that. But then again, when we say stuff like that, we the ones going to suffer because they're going to take it out on us. And even the so-called rounding up of the immigrants and the migrants, which is not going to happen, especially in this area in South Louisiana, because we know who's working the sugarcane fields. We know who's working the sugar mills. We know who's driving those 18-wheels you see down Highway 90, taking those sugarcane crop to the mill. None of those people are going to be gone, because the people have a vested interest in keeping these people here because they are making high profits. The people who run the sugarcane mills, who are part of the Sugarcane Farmers Association, whatever, they have invested interest of keeping these people here because they know these people are giving them high profits. And the same people give to the Republican Party, give to the Donald Trumps and the construction companies also. So we know they're not going to get rid of them. But I fear the people that are going to be rounded up with darker skinned people who are not working in those industries, not working in the construction industry. That's who they go round up, and they gonna have these detention camps for them, and especially a lot of our young black males. You know, so I want to read this. Community leaders want to boycott Walmart. A group made up of community leaders, pastors, and faith leaders are calling for a boycott of an Alabama Walmart store in response to the company's recent decision to roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, according to a press release. The group says its boycott at the Roebuck Walmart location in Birmingham, which is part of a larger national organization effort to boycott Walmart. and other large corporations will draw attention to the company's decision, which the group said would harm minority contractors and workers. And it's not just about employing black folk, because, you know, they're employees in these low-paying jobs in Walmart, but it's about these companies, black-led companies that have contracts with Walmart. Now, I say maybe it might work, but then again, we in a black community do not have unity, and we saw it in this past election. We didn't have a unified leadership, and even the elected leaders in the state of Louisiana, to me, they're the most they're the weakest, ineffectual leadership I ever saw in a while, especially the ones going to Baton Rouge, whether they're from the Lafayette area or the New Iberia area. They're weak and ineffective. Now, all they're good for is taking a photo op and on the red carpet and looking good, and claim the fame as some type of novelty legislation, you know, the best this, the best that, you know, stuff like that. That's the legislation they push. We don't see nothing really coming home, and we don't even see no truth to power. When was the last time the so-called Black Caucus from this area, led by a lot of local black areas, whether they're city councilmen in New Iberia, Lafayette, or anybody, whenever did they call a press conference and say, listen, Clay Higgins, you need to stop disrespecting us, or we going to do this, or we going to do that? No, they're so busy trying to please people like Clay Higgins in order to get some brownie points with him, which he just shows how he disrespect black people and black women. Because I'm going to play this clip right now with our sister Jasmine Crockett and let you see what went on in the meeting with Clay Higgins over the issue of DEI.
My colleagues on both sides of the aisle, I'm an original co-sponsor of this bill, and I've noted some of the comments here, and I believe we should take a step back and ask ourselves, you know, what do we seek in our republic regarding individual rights, liberties, and freedoms? And do you believe in those core tenets of our republic or not? We have an opportunity before us with this bill to push back against it. The ranking member mentioned a sweeping attack. Yes, this is what we have suffered. We have suffered as a nation, a sweeping attack against equality. That's exactly what we're fighting against. Another colleague mentioned oppression and degradation. It's exactly what we're pushing back against. This is a bill that eliminates government-sponsored oppression of individual rights, liberties, and freedoms in the land of the free. Freedom of opportunity, not result. And reflected upon the gentleman's comments of our former colleague, former Representative Gates, he's not here to defend himself. So let me speak on his behalf for all Americans accused of any crime at any level. I refer you again to our Constitution. Every American has the right to be recognized as innocent until proven guilty. Representative Gates has certainly demonstrated that he is a brilliant litigator. He's represented the interests of his district, and his own principles will sometimes vary from mine. He and I have very different opinions about some things. He's a highly qualified and brilliant man. And to attack him with accusations by name in this committee is wrong. The man's not here to defend himself. So I support the bill, Mr. Chairman. It is quite simply a strong response to the oppression of our individual rights, liberties, and freedoms as Americans, regardless of color or creed or political affiliation or where you stand upon the economic strata, what your background is or your heritage. All of us should be counted as Americans equal as we move forward through the course of our life on our journey, and we should not face obstructions that are baked into our government bureaucracies that exclude citizens strictly based upon their color, their heritage, their creed. This removes those oppressions.
That, of course, was Louisiana racist Clay Higgins finding a way to make himself the victim, as racist white Republicans often do.
You consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed. That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation.
You could start with Exodus.
The final thing that I will say on this particular issue, two things. There is an article from The Guardian, and it is a little old. It's from 2021, so I apologize. But it said that back then, just 3 years ago, white men represent 30% of the population, but 62% of office holders. These are the issues that we are constantly looking at and recognizing and trying to say, is this just? I can't even tell you how many white men have served in the chamber, but I can tell you that I am only the 55th black woman to be elected to Congress. And so when you want to talk about history and pretend as if it was so long ago, it wasn't. Because again, I am just number 55. Finally, when we start to talk about what do these numbers do, as we're trying to say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem, the reality is that when it comes to financial performance, companies with more diverse workforces are more likely to outperform their competitors. Companies in the top quartile for racial diversity are 35% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. Companies with diverse executive teams are 25% more likely to generate greater profits. Diverse companies earn 2.5 times higher cash flow per employee. Diversity works. And until you can show me data that says otherwise, I think that we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts and gets out of our feelings and recognizes, again, that racism is real in this country. And until we stop pretending that it's not, we will not solve the problems that we are consistently facing. And that will bring real unity that we seek when we're looking for a more perfect union.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America.
So it's absolutely hilarious watching, just the Republican Party pretending like they are being oppressed. Because whites make up over 60% of the population in this country. And, you see things like the Great Replacement theory. They don't hide it on Fox News and all the right-wing media outlets. Pretty much all they talk about is, oh my God, the brown immigrants are coming, because they're afraid of losing their majority. In fact, I covered this on my channel the other day about how Walmart is pulling back on their DEI initiatives, pulling back on their efforts to work with black and brown businesses, women-led businesses, LGBTQ and veteran-led businesses, because they caved to conservative pressure about woke corporate America, which is hilarious given the fact that corporate America basically owns the country and decides what legislation gets passed and doesn't get passed in this country. The idea that they're woke because they want to include people in the process is hilarious. They say things like, we got to get corporate America back to sanity. AKA we have to coddle white people's feelings and make sure that all the racist bigots in this country don't feel like they're being oppressed. And of course, oppression to them is a little bit of equality. You sprinkle a little bit of equity and equality onto the sandwich, and as far as they're concerned, that's a line too far.
Yes, we're back here on Real Talk TV. Simply amazing that we have idiots like Clay Higgins saying he's been oppressed, white people been oppressed. When we know Clay Higgins, as a member of Opelousas PD, engaged in police brutality. It was swept up, covered up. He was allowed to resign under then Police Chief Gallo. And he was allowed to go take another position with the St. Landry Parish Sheriff Department, where he did F up again when he did that video, went against the policies of the St. Landry Sheriff Department. So he was allowed again to quietly move forward. Then he used the viral video of the so-called Gremlin gang that he was so supposedly rounding up, and he got elected to Congress. Again, we focus on Clay Higgins, Jeff Landry, and Donald Trump and people like him, right? But they're not the problem. The electorate is the problem. The people who you work for, the people who you love, who stay next door to you, vote for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has a policy of racist policies that they carry. So the people wanted that. The people who were elected, they wanted that. So we have to deal with the electorate. And how do we do that? Well, we got to start thinking in terms of the old civil rights way. Maybe you might not respect me as a person. Maybe you might not love me as a human being, but maybe you respect and love that almighty dollar. How urgent was it for us to not see all of this stuff coming down the pike, that we want to rush out to the Southern Grambling game and make a whole lot of money? I understand there's black entrepreneurs and the schools benefit from that, but can't we take a bullet once, bite the bullet once, and say, listen, we're not putting on the Southern Grambling game in the Louisiana Superdome till Jeff Landry changes his policy. We're not promoting the Super Bowl in January. We're not participating. We're calling for boycotts of the Super Bowl. Where's the NAACP in the state of Louisiana? Where is the elected Black Caucus in the state of Louisiana on the Congressional Black Caucus? Where is the State Black Caucus? You know where they're at? In the pockets of the lobbyists, trying to get along to go along. So don't come on a Sunday morning on a talk show and lecture the people in the community when it's the elected officials who've been dropping the ball. Matter of fact, when they say, well, Brother Jay, you need to get, no. If I voted for you, you went to do that job, do the job in the will of the people. They're not doing the will of the people. They're doing the will of themselves because they think they know better than the people that elected them. But trust me, the people who elected Donald Trump and Jeff Landry, they know better than those politicians. They know what they want. So those people go and execute the ways and the wishes of those people they put in who voted for them. So I'm just saying, people, you don't have to believe me. I want to play this other clip. This other clip concerning, my touchscreen is very touchy, so I might click on one thing and anything else might coming up. I want to play this one thing concerning Mark Morial, head of the Urban League, and I kind of like Mark, but I think they were still a little bit weak. And hopefully we gonna have Mark Morial on one of the platforms soon. He's the head of the Urban League. Here's what he has to say about that whole DEI situation with Walmart.
Walmart has announced it's joining a growing number of companies cutting back on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. As part of the new rollback, the world's largest retailer says it will no longer give priority treatment to suppliers owned by minorities and women. It will also scale back racial equity training and review its support for things like Pride Month and other events. Yesterday, we spoke to Walmart CEO John Furner, and here's what he had to say about the change.
What we're trying to do is to ensure that every customer, every associate feels welcome here to shop and to feel like they belong. And that term belong, we've been talking about belonging now for almost 2 years. Early 2023, we started talking about belonging. And we're going to continue to make the best decisions we can that makes everyone, our customers, our associates, feel like this is an environment they can shop in and thrive in.
Joining us now is the president and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial. Good morning, Mark.
Thanks, Adriana. Tony, congratulations to you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being on our show. And thank you for being here. So in your statement to Walmart, you issued a statement to them where you didn't mince words. You said that this has potentially disastrous effects. It's hasty and ill-advised. It's a hasty and ill-advised capitulation to anti-racial justice extremists. And you say it could point to a regression to a past marked by discrimination, racial profiling, and insensitivity. What do you think, Mark, will be the real-world impact of these changes?
Well, I'm dismayed by this decision because as a 20-year partner of Walmart, none of us got a heads up that they were even reevaluating or reconsidering their corporate diversity or equal opportunity initiatives. Here's what's important to remember. This company was under recriminations, lawsuits, complaints 20 years ago. The CEO at that time, Tony and Adriana, Lee Scott, led a remarkable transformation of this company over the last 20 years. And they went from worst to first class when it comes to diversity. The idea that they would throw all of that away without any careful consultation with their partners, without any real serious evaluation of the success of these programs is what dismays me. And I've communicated to the leadership of the company my desire to meet with them to have a discussion. I think what they did is succumb to a smear campaign, to threats, to bullying, and to blackmail by a handful of extremists. We need American business leaders to stand up for American values. And one value of this nation is equal opportunity. That's all diversity, equity, and inclusion is about. It's about creating a level playing field for all.
Well, Walmart is not alone here. I mean, you have Lowe's, Harley-Davidson, John Deere, many other countries who are kind of pulling back on their diversity initiatives. Does DEI itself have a PR problem? Because these days it seems to have some baggage.
It's been smeared by a hate mob. Diversity, equity, and inclusion were a set of terms designed to create a positive, if you will, image and a positive conversation about an America for all, an America that is open to all. And now it's being smeared. It's being smeared in the same way the word affirmative action was smeared another generation ago. So the nomenclature is one thing. The value and the principle is what counts. DE&I is consistent with meritocracy because what DE&I says is give those who have merit but who've been locked out an opportunity. So these two value propositions work together. So
the Supreme Court, you mentioned affirmative action. John Roberts, Chief Justice, had a line, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is a close paraphrase, that the way to end discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. The argument being that by favoring people based on their gender or their skin color for a contract, if you're Walmart, you are perpetuating the very racism in a different way.
You used a word that is inaccurate. Favoring. DE&I does not favor. It opens doors that have been historically closed. Look,
but for Walmart, Mark, just in fairness, Walmart says that it gives priority. It was giving priority to black and minority and women-owned suppliers.
So they're saying
they were not giving priority. What they were doing was opening the door to those who had historically been left out. If they had given priority, they've made great progress in minority supply and supply diversity, but the numbers are still relatively small. They're not a significant portion of all the suppliers they do business with. I mean, that's what's important. I mean, this is still an initiative like I can say we're proud of, but an initiative that still represents a very small portion of all of their suppliers at Walmart.
So Walmart's a massive company, huge employer in America. I think it might be the single biggest employer of black Americans, period.
Yes.
As I understand it, you're in conversation with them. You requested a meeting, or have they agreed?
I'd like to meet with Doug McMillon. Look, I know Doug McMillon. I've worked with Doug McMillon. They've been historically a strong supporter of equal opportunity. And I think that conversation would help us gain an understanding. I want to have that conversation before I think many of us in the civil rights community decide what steps we'll take or what moves we'll make. Once again, I've been a partner at the National Urban League with Walmart now for 20 years through multiple CEOs. I've watched their journey. I hope they're not a championship team that's won with the West Coast offense that now says, let's try the single wing, if you understand.
Yeah.
That what they're going to do is throw away, if you will, 20 years of progress without any real consultation with any of us and without any conversation. And they obviously have been speaking to those who oppose DE&I. I think it's important that they speak to those of us who support and promote DE&I and equal opportunity. Yeah. That's what a fair conversation is, not to make these decisions because someone comes to you behind closed doors, makes a lot of threats, suggests that they're going to run boycotts on you, and then you succumb to that pressure. I mean, this is a moment. I wanted to come and talk about this publicly because it is a moment that is so important for this country. We cannot throw away the progress we've made.
Well, Mark, let us know if you do hear back about that meeting.
I will.
And we would love to have you on to talk about how that went. Mark Morial, thank you so much.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. It's a big conversation. It's bigger than just Walmart.
It is a conversation for the nation.
Thank you very much, Mark.
There you go, people. They're really going full force with this DEI thing. And how do you feel? Let us know at 337-983-6080. We're live on AOC Community Media, Cox 15 in the Lafayette and New Iberia, Abbeville, St. Martinville area. We definitely appreciate having public access television, especially when the new administration could be coming in and that the new chairman of the FTC that they designate, he has some ideas on how radio station and media operations go run. We already seen the fallout with MSNBC basically going down in flames as far as the parent company NBC trying to sell it or make it an independent company. We already see some changes at CNN, and we saw some changes last year before that with get riddance of and some would say of Don Lemon and a lot of the voices out there who've been speaking out on certain things. So the handwriting's on the wall. So are we going back to pre-Nazi Germany or Nazi Germany where the media was stymied? People like Elon Musk running things. Let me tell you this thing about Elon Musk, and I hope you go and Google and research the story. Much like Donald Trump, Elon Musk has been touted as a genius because of his, his starting of several companies. Well, he might have that streak of using his money, his wealth, to hire the best people to come up with some innovative ideas, because it's amazing that the Republicans and the conservatives are against what you call electric cars. They're all for the carbon-based way of transportation with all burning of fossil fuels and so forth, right? Why are they not against him? He started with the Tesla cars and electric cars and so forth, right? Okay, so Elon Musk comes to America, invests in startup companies like PayPal, Cash, and that gave way to companies like Cash App and other things, right? But he already had his money. His father was a rich South African businessman and educator and professor who bought a couple of mines in South Africa, emerald mine and so forth, other investment, and he basically exploited the land out there in South Africa, you know, in apartheid South Africa, right? So much of Elon Musk's money is from his father, much like Donald Trump. So be aware that this person, Elon Musk, is not what he seemed to be to other people. He is a straight out Nazi type person, okay? Before you start touting, he was so great and so good, okay? And now he's basically poised to almost like running things and giving more suggestions to Donald Trump because he's making billions and billions of dollars. Now, the ultimate person, we have so many hypocritical things going on. Elon Musk is getting what we call government welfare. All his contracts are with the government. So why, and even the Biden administration should have recognized this. He got all the contracts for NASA and all the space agency, the military contract for the satellite, for information, and now he's the biggest welfare getter, but he wants to take people who's on public assistance and people who are getting help and take that money from them, cut that as the head of the new DOGE committee, that's the acronym DOGE, something like that, and cut a lot of the government programs, right? Okay, and even look at the fact that when we talk about immigrants and migrants, they want to send back or go engage in what you call denaturalization, meaning people who are naturalized American citizens who got their citizenship, take it away from them. So I wonder if there could be a list. So the people who should be going back is Elon Musk to South Africa. He should be the first one. Him and that other nutcase that they got head of the so-called government cost-cutting operation, Basin Ramaswamy. If you can, you know, like they say, if you can't say a good old-fashioned American name, you shouldn't even be here. You hear Republicans say that. Well, we can't even pronounce Basin Ramaswamy. But what they're good at, the reason Trump loved them, because they got their straw so deep up the backside of Donald Trump and people like him, so they're going to keep them around. And especially Elon Musk with all the millions and billions of dollars he's getting from the government. So who's the biggest welfare getter? So that tells you how hypocritical these conservatives and Republicans are. And it's not about morals. It's not about economics. It's not about anything other but than race. Pure race. But we see a lot of the people who are of Indian nationality, or like Patel, Cash Patel, they want head of the FBI. We see them more racist than the people that are employing them. So pay attention to that. I want to play this other clip from our good brother Roland Martin. Please check Roland Martin out on go to Roland Martin Unfiltered. He has some great information, great shows. Let me see if I can pull the show up somewhere. Roland Martin, Lord, National. Okay. I think we're going to play the Roland Martin clip right now.
Well, Walmart has decided they're going to get rid of their DEI policies. Why? Because right-wing conservatives have been targeting a number of public companies, telling them they don't like what their support for transgender, LGBTQ, as well as Black folks and other minorities. This is the Walmart U.S. CEO speaking this morning on CBS This Morning, explaining their decision. Of course, Walmart is America's largest employer, one of the biggest companies in the world. So this is a huge decision. Listen.
Well, first of all, good morning, and thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm in Houston, Texas, in our Friendswood location, so it's exciting to be in the store this time of year. First, let me say, like many companies all across the United States, we've been on a journey, and we continue to be on a journey. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that every customer, every associate feels welcome here to shop and to feel like they belong. And that term belong, we've been talking about belonging now for almost 2 years. Early 2023, we started talking about belonging. And we're going to continue to make the best decisions we can that makes everyone, our customers, our associates, feel like this is an environment they can shop in and thrive in.
Is diversity among your suppliers still important to you at Walmart, John?
Well, starting with our company back in 1962, we were a small business, a single store that operated out of Rogers, Arkansas. And so we'll continue to do the things that we can do to ensure that small suppliers have a path to being successful, not only at Walmart, but in their business in total. You know, every year we really focus on made in the USA. About 2/3 of what we sell is either made, grown, or assembled right here in the United States. We have a program every summer called Open Call, where we welcome in small suppliers and we welcome in people that have an idea, that are an entrepreneur, and they want to learn. So we're going to continue to lean into ensuring that we provide the very best pathways for small businesses, our suppliers, to be successful here in the store. If I had more time, I could take you around the store and show you a few of those examples, but there are a lot of them, and there'll continue to be more.
Okay, so first of all, you saw right there, he didn't answer Gayle King's question. He didn't answer it at all. There also was this $100 million initiative that they had announced after the death of George Floyd. They're getting rid of that. It was they also were funding what it was called a Center for Racial Equity, a nonprofit that Walmart launched in 2020. It's supposed to be a 5-year initiative, and so that's also being shuttered. Let's just be real, Randy. What's going on here? This is a part of the attack against critical race theory, part of the attack on affirmative action. This is all about the right-wing agenda. They have been targeting Harley-Davidson, John Deere, numerous companies. They've been targeting law firms. This is what this is all about. And the problem is corporate America, they're showing how gutless they are. They're showing how they are scared. Oh, my God, we don't want to be attacked by Trump and the right. And so that's all this is. And I remember I was in Los Angeles. It was NAACP panel, and it was a DEI panel, and I was going hard, and people were like, dog, why are you going so hard? I said, because I'm trying to tell y'all this is about to end. I said, unless you have a strong counterattack, I said, these white corporations, their knees are going to buckle. They are not going to stand up to these right-wingers. And guess what? All of that stuff, and here we are. It'll be 5 years in May since George Floyd was killed. And I told folk, I said, I'll be shocked if we get to the 5th year. We barely had 3 years.
Right. And I want people to know, when you talk about attacking, it's not just that they are writing articles or doing interviews. They are filing lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits. These small law firms, but they're powerful, are filing these lawsuits that companies then have to fight against, saying that woke policies or any DEI initiatives are in fact discriminatory, which is completely the opposite of what the problem is. DEI was there to fix discriminatory problems, but they have flipped it around and are using again the term reverse discrimination, reverse racism, which is no such thing as reverse racism. It's not even a real concept. It does not exist, but this is what is the problem. And these corporations are buckling under the pressure. And I really want people to understand the impact of that, because what that means is that a person trying to get a job at Walmart, yes, we understand that's going to be an issue, but also a person who's trying to sell their products in Walmart. They are not going to actively seek out or retain the people they have now that are under any underrepresented group. That's women, that's LGBTQIA, that's Black, Latino, that's Asian, that's people with disabilities, that's women. And so what they're saying is what they're saying is they're evening out the playing ground, because they have said, are trying to suggest that we are all have equal chances in America. We all have equal chance to make it. But what DEI does is it gives us an unfair advantage. Now, it is laughable that I, as a Black woman, has an unfair advantage over a heterosexual white man. We know that's a joke, right? We see who the president of Walmart is, but that's what they're suggesting. And so, of course, the opportunity for me to even sell, to supply, is going to be a problem. But they're to advertise on shows like yours, Martin. Roland, is completely not going to exist. They're going to make it where what they have is what they consider a fair playing ground, and everybody's on it. I mean, it is quite scary that here we have the largest employers saying we no longer will have DEI initiatives, which also means they won't be looking at it. So they won't be looking at how they're functioning as a store. So if the store has employees that 95% of them are white and male, that's fine. There's no one there to check them on it. And that is what the workforce used to look like. DEI was supposed to work against that. That was the only reason that it was formed, is because of biases, people hire like people. And because of our history in this country, most of the people in charge are cishet white males, and they hire white males, and they do business with white males, and they bring in suppliers that are white males, and they pay more to white males. What they're saying though is, no, we now as white males feel as if we've been discriminated against just for the little slice of pie that these DEI initiatives offered to people. And so we'll sue you if they continue. Also, what's scary is that they're wiping out any kind of education. So you're going to have a workforce of people who are not educated on how to deal with people that are different from them. And so the workforce, I promise you, will be hostile. They won't be, if you do get a job there, now it's more difficult if you're from an underrepresented group. But when you do get the job, the chances of being treated well, that you feel included and like you're in a safe environment, those chances have gone down. So, and if Walmart has done it, the sad thing is that other corporations are definitely going to follow suit. So I feel very nervous for everyone involved. I mean, I don't think people, like, again, I know I'm going on and on, but even like truckers, I mean, there's the people who bring in the supplies from people. There are contracts that say, okay, we're going to give 5% of our contracts to minority truckers. Nope. That's gone now. Even that 5% is gone. And so it wasn't like we were getting much in the first place, but it's now non-existent. And even the term DEI, they can't even use the term. They have made it where it cannot be used in any materials or discussed at all. And the term Latinx. If you want to talk about the level of control that these law firms that are doing these lawsuits are having, they're making them so scared to even say the word, much less implement policies. It's dangerous. And, we really need to start having some discussions as Black organizations and as individuals of how we counteract this.
This is all because this right-winger right here, Robbie Starbuck, hit them last week and said, I'm going to be releasing a story on all of your woke policies. And so see right here, last week I told execs at Walmart that I was doing a story on wokeness there. Instead, we had productive conversations to find solutions. And so Walmart totally caved. Walmart will no longer participate in the human rights campaign's what they call woke corporate equality index. Products: monitor the Walmart marketplace to identify and remove inappropriate sexual and or transgender products marketed to children. Review all funding of Pride and other events to avoid funding inappropriate sexualized content targeting kids. Y'all, let me be real clear. This ain't just about transgender, y'all. They want them to stop funding Black groups as well. Walmart not extending their racial equity center. Supposed to be 5 years, didn't even get to the 4th year. Look at this here. We will evaluate supplier diversity programs and ensure they do not provide preferential treatment and benefits to suppliers based on diversity. We don't have quotas and won't going forward. Financing eligibility will no longer be predicated on providing certain demographic data. Do y'all see? Walmart will no longer use Latinx. Walmart will discontinue racial equity training through the Racial Equity Institute. Walmart will discontinue the use of DEI as a term while assuring a respectful and supportive environment. Our focus is on belonging for all associates and customers. Total bullshit. And so here's a company, y'all. And again, they're gloating. Look what he says. We've now changed policy at companies worth over $2 trillion. That's what they did. Look at this. Our campaigns are now so effective that we're getting the biggest companies on earth to change their policies without me even posting a story outlining their woke policies. Companies can clearly see that America wants normalcy back. The era of wokeness is dying right in front of our eyes. The landscape of corporate America is quickly shifting to sanity and neutrality. We're now the trend, not the anomaly. Joe, did I not call it?
Yeah, I mean,
I tried. I've been telling everybody since 2009, we're living in the age of white minority resistance. And these white folks like this guy right here, they want to get rid of any program that helps black folks or any other minority group. And in their minds, oh, no, we don't want just 95% of the money. We want all of the money.
Right. And so much so that if without, soliciting, openly certain companies and suppliers, that you get to 5%, the Walmarts of the world, they might get sued just because they got to 5%. And that underlying that is nothing short of entitlement. For so many in this society have had, particularly white folks, have had the force of tradition, the force of legacy, the force of relationships, affirmative action, and things like that. And DEI were about having the force of law because we didn't have anything else. And so switching that back is not about, restoring fairness. What it's about is regaining a lost advantage. If things go back to the way they were, that means that there are more advantage, and therefore there's expectation and entitlement tied into that. So even someone that gets to a healthy percentage of minorities, people of color, women, et cetera, even though there's an argument that particularly white women will continue to benefit and be on the privileged side, which is why they frankly voted the way that they did, they'll get sued. They will get sued for that very reason. So, it's a serious problem. And, we're going to have to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to deal with it, because what they're trying to do is basically go back to the Stone Age and say all of this is ours. All of this belongs to us. And that's where we should be.
Mustafa, I guess, have you seen anything from the NAACP? Anything from the Urban League? Anything from these civil rights groups? I mean, is anybody it's just going to be like, oh, okay, oh, well, all right. So what are they going to do? Have another panel?
I mean, you hit it on the head. You and I, we often are in alignment with the way that we think about these issues. Frederick Douglass once said that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. And we've seen these companies moving away from DEI and a number of other sets of actions and policies that are critical for the healing of our nation. But yet, you don't see anybody in the street marching. You don't see anybody talking about economic boycotts and taking away resources from these folks, because the other folks on the other side of the equation are saying, yes, we will do this. Yes, we'll take you to court. Yes, we'll do all these other types of things. But then on the side of folks who say that they are trying to actually move this country forward, we don't see that. People are silent. So when you're silent, people think that you are complicit. And they think that you are not going to, you're not going to stand up. You're not going to push back. Yeah, there are always a few voices that do that. But let's be very serious. There has been no strategic plan about how you were going to address these types of things. So people think you're playing. And when they think you're playing, they're not going to take you serious, and they're going to continue to move forward the agenda that they have. So if you want change to happen, then that means you got to put some skin in the game. It means it's not going to be easy. I understand, because I came from a rural community. I saw Walmart move into an area and take away all the mom and pop shops because they couldn't compete with prices. But we've got this dynamic now where folks have got to decide, what are you going to do in this moment? Folks have showed you their cards. And people are still just sitting back saying, well, it can't possibly ever get that bad. They're taking away your wealth because they put the pretty label on it, right? They put this veneer over top about belonging and all the things that, yes, we all agree that those are important. But then when you pull back the veneer, you see that contracting and subcontracting opportunities are going to be taken away. So that means if you talk about the racial wealth gap in this country, but you're allowing corporations to say that we are no longer going to give consideration to the businesses that have often been disinvested in, then I don't know how serious you actually are about trying to make real change happen. It almost seems like someone has to die. When our dear brother George Floyd, you know, had that lynching that happened in front of America and it was caught on camera, then everybody got, and, you know, they kind of got motivated there for a moment and they were willing to do things and stand up and push back and march and show up. And then it began to fade away. And the other folks who've had these long-term strategic plans about how they were going to snatch power because they've watched what happened in South Africa with apartheidism, and they watched these other countries, how folks have been able to institute things to actually institutionalize racism, to institutionalize poverty. They know what they need to do, but yet we still sit back like they're not going to take it as far as they are. They even put Project 2025 in front of your face, and people didn't even take that serious. And now here in a few weeks, you're going to see how real it really is. So this is just another piece of the puzzle that they're putting together to weaken you, not just in this moment, but they're looking at decades to come because they understand what happens with the browning of America. It's in your book. You know, other folks have talked about it as well. And that's where we are right now. And that's why I get frustrated, but at the same time, my frustration is because I know we have power. My grandmother says you have power unless you give it away, and I watch us give our power away every day. They continue to destabilize. They continue to just take these pieces away, and people just busy twerking, busy worrying about what the reality shows are doing, worried about, and don't get me wrong, I was an athlete, what my team just did. And the reality of what's really going on in this moment that will impact your children's children, you continue to stay silent. So if you're going to stay silent, then you get what you get.
Hi, I'm Isaac.
Yes, we are back. The brother put it in the proper context, I think. Continue to twerk, continue to go out to the all-white party 24/7, continue to follow your favorite Cowboy losers team, continue to follow your favorite New Orleans Saints loser team. Promote the Super Bowl. Worry about that. Worry about the next Zydeco dance. But don't worry about what's coming down the pike with these crazies, these insane racist people that are in power, thinking Jeff Landry is your friend. No, he's not your friend. He's a friend of white supremacy. And when those things come to pass, I want you to understand what's going on. A lot of our young, I mentioned on the other show, on the Sunday show on Community Defender, shout out to Sister Khadijah, shout out to Brother Wallace, shout out to Brother Shaheed, and all those who do those talk shows also. Well, we talked about a lot of the young ladies who are working in the medical field, a lot of the brothers who are working in the medical field, working in the home health industry. You want Dr. Oz, his plan under the Trump and Elon Musk policy, that's who basically might be his vice president, Elon Musk. They want to cut home health. They want to cut Social Security entitlement. They even want to cut, you hear this, veterans medical help. So keep dancing, keep twerking. You're going to get what you get. Again, I want to thank the staff and manager of AOC Community Media and everybody else who had something to do with this show. We really appreciate you, and we're going to be seeing you on next week. Bye-bye.